why would you leave conversation? Now, let's talk about the reaction you're going to get, because it's one of the most jarring things I've noticed moving here as an American. The number one question I get from Canadians is, why would you leave? And it's usually followed by, but it's cheaper there. Taxes are lower and you can make so much more money in the States. And I sit there and I think, cheaper where and for who? There's this pervasive idea, even here in Canada, that the US is this land of milk and honey, and it's US propaganda. For some people, it's seeped in. They assume that because we have lower taxes and lower housing costs in some areas, that Americans are just automatically better off. I think this view lacks a lot of the context that we live with as Americans. Yes, taxes might be lower in some states, but in general, those regions lack the infrastructure, the education standards, and the safety nets that are considered standard here. If you live in a low tax state, you might be driving on roads that haven't been paved in 10 years, sending your kids to underfunded schools, and have zero public transit. Wages are often dictated by a city's cost of living. So yes, houses are cheaper in rural areas, but the wages match that. And let's talk about the big one, the one that keeps me up at night as a public health professional, healthcare. In the US, medical bankruptcy is common. It happens to people with insurance. It happens to people who did everything right. I grew up with this low-grade anxiety that one bad accident could ruin my future. It's a hum in the background of your life. Don't get sick and don't fall. Don't lose your job or you lose your coverage. Here, the healthcare system is struggling. Let's be real about that. You will wait for a specialist. You might wait hours in the ER. That is the reality. But you might have the same experience in the States, especially if you don't have the connections, location, or influence of the 1%. And you will not go bankrupt. You will not lose your house because you got cancer. You won't have to start a GoFundMe for insulin. And that shift, it changes your baseline stress level. And we have to talk about the future millionaire myth. Mixed in with all the individualism that the US has to offer, we have this cultural myth that we are all just future millionaires who are temporarily down on our luck. It keeps us grinding. It keeps us accepting a system that is increasingly stratifying our upper and lower class. We defend billionaires because we think one day that might be me. Coming here, I noticed that Canada feels much more middle class. It feels more stabilized. It feels like the floor is higher, even if the ceiling might be a little lower for the ultra wealthy. More people here seem to be educated and doing okay. It feels like a society more built for the average person, versus America feels like a society built for the exceptional person. And for me, I'm okay with being average if it means I have stability. That trade-off is worth it. And not just for me, but for my neighbors and friends and community members. Let's talk about money in cities, specifically Toronto versus the US equivalents. I grew up an hour and a half outside of New York City, and I often describe Toronto as a more affordable version of that lifestyle. Now, don't come for me. I don't mean affordable as in cheap or really even affordable. It's still expensive, but I don't feel like I have to be a millionaire to survive here. And compared to living in Manhattan or other boroughs of NYC, it is affordable for what it is. Costs are similar to living way far outside of the city, and our quality of life is much improved. You get that big city energy, and you get the incredible food scene. You get a transit system that, despite what the locals say, is actually quite functional compared to most American cities. You get walkability, but you don't have that hyper-competitive burnout culture that vibrates through New York. In New York City, the vibes are electric, but it's also exhausting. It feels like you have to be a millionaire just to exist. And you walk out the door and $50 just vanishes. In Toronto, the energy is much more steady. And honestly, I think that steady energy is what I've been craving. I don't feel like I'm in constant survival mode. I can enjoy the city without feeling like it's trying to chew me up and spit me out. Although, one of my first weeks here, a fellow immigrant did tell me that the city was going to do that to me. So I guess we'll see if that's what's waiting for me down the road. I realize that in New York, you pay a premium for the intensity, and that's not something I particularly wanted. In Toronto, prices are still high, but you get this peace in return. Also, let's touch on education, because that is a huge culture shock that I didn't expect. And it speaks to the difference in how Americans and Canadians raise their kids. In the US, the university system is a blood sport. That B you got in sophomore year of chemistry, it can haunt you. Mine certainly did. We are trained from a young age that everything is a performance audition. If you aren't exceptional, you don't get access. In poor public schools in the States, even top students can struggle to get admission or affordability at even less than average schools. Here, the university culture is so much more sane. I really should have listened to my college counselor. Many schools primarily look at your grade 12 marks. They don't need your entire life story and a list of 50 extracurriculars starting from when you were 6 years old. The tuition is regulated and it feels accessible. It's less of a lifelong performance audition and more of a public good. And realizing that made me realize just how much trauma I was carrying from the American education system. I realized I was still operating as if one mistake could ruin my entire life. Here, the system offers so much more grace. I didn't move here because I hated America. I moved here because I wanted a life that felt sustainable. I wanted a city that felt electric but steady. I wanted a society that valued collective good, just a little bit more than individual gain. I wanted to stop holding my breath every time I opened a medical bill. It's not perfect. It's real life. There are struggles here just like anywhere else. But for me, it feels aligned. And if you've been feeling that pull, that sense that maybe you're in the wrong system, listen to it. Don't figure it out the hard way like I did. Look, if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe so we can keep building this community of people designing their dream lives in Toronto, in Canada, and beyond. You just gotta leave the fear at home and live your life. Love you guys. See you in the next one.